Developing news in Holyoke, an investigation underway at Mater Dolorosa School. Good Monday evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Western Mass News at 6. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Jordyn Jagolinzer. Western Mass News reporter Lindsay Kane is live in Holyoke with the details. Lindsay?
Chris and Jordan, at this time, we know that a parent has filed a police report in response to this incident. Now, in a letter sent to families obtained by Western Mass News, the principal says in part, "It was brought to my attention that a student allegedly made an inappropriate comment to one or more students in the 8th grade class." She goes on to say this matter remains under investigation, which is why I haven't been able to share details. As always, safety of our students is our top priority. Based on what I know to date, I do not believe there's any risk of harm to any students. The letter goes on asking parents to not post comments on social media. Parents first reached out to Western Mass News concerned about the incident. One family tells me their child is going to learn from home for the time being until the investigation is concluded. Now, this is still a developing situation, so be sure to stick with Western Mass News both on air and online as we uncover more details. For now, live in Holyoke, Lindsay Kane, Western Mass News.
Lindsay, thank you for that live report. Western Mass News is getting you answers as local hospitals prepare to receive one of now 3 COVID-19 vaccines that are racing for approval.
Hospital officials are hoping to see the first wave of people be vaccinated in Western Mass by January. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo joins us live in Springfield with those details. Audrey?
The CEO of Bay State Health says he isn't sure which manufacturer's vaccine his hospital system will get when the time comes. However, he says at least in the short term, it's likely to only be one of the 3 contenders and that it'll be used to vaccinate both healthcare workers and vulnerable populations.
There's roughly 20 million doses of the Moderna vaccine and 15 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine.
Bay State Health CEO Mark Kerouac says excitement surrounding those millions and millions of doses needs to be adjusted for how the vaccines are actually administered.
It's a 2-dose vaccine, so figure maybe close to 20 million individuals will be able to be vaccinated by early January.
State officials believe 20,000 to 60,000 doses will be made available in the Bay State during the first wave of vaccine rollout for healthcare workers and vulnerable populations. Now, AstraZeneca joins Moderna and Pfizer in the running of vaccine candidates vying to put an end to COVID-19. UMass Amherst microbiologist Erica Hamilton tells Western Mass News having several different options is good for the future.
We do not know how well these will work in the long term, 5 or 10 years from now. So one of these may work better than the other.
In the short term, Kerouac says based on the state's rollout plan, it's likely his hospital will only get the vaccine from one manufacturer. And even that requires careful planning.
You don't want to give somebody 2 different lots of the same vaccine. So you'll need to have ways to store the vials that have been used for individuals for shot 1 before they come for shot 2.
Because all the current candidates are 2-dose vaccines, Hamilton reiterates that making the 2 trips is critical.
And that is going to be tough because you do need both shots in order for this vaccine to work properly. And if you don't get it, the vaccine will not work nearly as well.
As for how they plan to actually give people the vaccine in a drive-through format or a walk-in, for example, the CEO of Bay State Health says those plans are still being developed. Live in Springfield, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thanks for that live report. And we have a follow-up for you now on the COVID-19 outbreak at Bay State Medical Center in Springfield. The numbers are rising. There are now nearly 60 staff and patients who've tested positive for the virus. That's up from the initial report of 16 employees and 4 patients last week. The CEO of Bay State Health, Dr. Mark Kerouac, says they've completed testing for those who may have been exposed.
There are 47 employees and 10 patients who have been part of that cluster. We have completed our testing protocol for the many employees and patients that were on the unit or connected to the unit, and the unit has undergone deep cleaning, so we have really concluded our investigation of that of the outbreak.
Kerouac still not specifying exactly which unit that cluster began.
Taking a look now at the latest coronavirus case numbers in the state over the past 5 days, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health reports 1,785 new cases just today. That brings the total number of confirmed cases in the Bay State to more than 201,000. The state also seeing, sadly, 18 new deaths from the virus. The statewide death toll now stands at more than 10,000.
Well, a cold front came through earlier today, brought some much needed rain to western Mass, picking up close to an inch in spots in Berkshire County. But most of the spots west of 91 got a few tenths of an inch. Meanwhile, east of the interstate, many picking up close to an inch or even over it in some spots. And that rain got more intense out toward the coast. So we did get a good soaking today, which was needed. Now, as far as what we're dealing with currently, just a few lingering clouds, especially in the hills, but the valley is mostly clear now. Our cold front is well offshore and the rain is going to be finished until Thanksgiving. Our current conditions, we're down to 39 degrees right now. Breezes are a little bit lighter than earlier, but we do still have a breeze, so wind chill is down to the lower and middle 30s for many. Sitting at 35 in Pittsfield, currently 39 in Greenfield, down to Holyoke around 38, same for Belchertown and Palmer. So it is a chilly evening out there. It's the breeze that makes the biggest impact. So wind occasionally still gusting up to about 30 miles an hour. We will be losing those higher gusts overnight, but we'll keep that maybe 10 to 15 mile an hour wind through tomorrow morning. So wind chills are in the 20s for the hills, lower to middle 30s for the valley, and we will likely have some teens and 20s for wind chills by the morning. So again, breezes get a little bit lighter tonight. Temperatures dropping back down into the low 30s by sunrise, even some upper 20s possible. We'll have plenty of sunshine, and it's going to be a bright and breezy Tuesday with highs checking in around 40 to 42 degrees. Now we'll take a look at that soggier Thanksgiving forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Janna, thanks. We continue to stay on top of the latest developments in a Western Mass News true crime investigation that we've been following. A Springfield man in court earlier today charged in the murders of 2 Western Mass residents in Connecticut.
Western Mass News reporter Sarah Granelli is digging deeper into the investigation and the suspect's past run-ins with the law. She joins us now live from our MGM studios with the latest. Sarah?
Chris Jordan, it took about 4 months for police to gather enough evidence to make the arrest, and it's all detailed here in the arrest warrant that we dug through.
Springfield resident Gregory Critchlow appeared in court on Monday, facing 2 murder charges in connection to the shooting deaths of Jennifer Hicks of Chicopee and Gregory Scott from Springfield. The shooting happened on August 2nd in Manchester, Connecticut during a car meetup that started in Springfield. Police say Critchlow walked up to the Jeep Scott Hicks and another person were in and started shooting. Ever since then, Connecticut State Police have been collecting evidence using search warrants to gain access to Facebook messages and surveillance video that would ultimately connect Critchlow to the crime. Western Mass News digging deeper into the arrest warrant application that details the 4-month-long investigation. It highlights the gang feud between Critchlow and Scott and Hicks as an innocent victim. As far back as April, the warrant details a Facebook message where the victim Scott talks about trying to shoot Critchlow, quote, "God sent you an angel." Then, the day before the shooting, a woman sends Critchlow a message saying, "A blank is live at the races, so be careful not to be seen on Nobody's Live so they know what car you in." Detectives believe this message shows that Critchlow was looking for Scott. Investigators also recovered surveillance video of the truck Critchlow was in with 3 other people at the Pride gas station on East Columbus Avenue. Investigators painted a chilling picture in the warrant, stating video evidence shows Critchlow pulled up to the adjacent gas pump where Scott and the others were parked before the shooting. After the shooting, investigators recovered this message between Critchlow and a friend. It reads, "You good? Yeah, he in bed." Investigators say this most likely is referring to Scott being dead. Western Mass News found Critchlow was arrested a month later. According to Springfield District Court, documents show Critchlow was arraigned on September 9th with 21 counts, including firearm and drug charges.
And Critchlow is expected to be back in court December 22nd, and that is actually the day Jennifer Hicks would have turned 21. Live at our MGM studios, I'm Sarah Granelli for Western Mass News.
Sarah, thank you for that live report. The pandemic has many short on funds this year. Up next, how Eversource is helping out those struggling to pay their electric bills as the cold months set in.
And later, one local man has a pretty memorable trip across the state. as he approaches his final days. We'll be right back.